Have you ever just looked at an ancient monument, something like Stonehenge or the pyramids, and wondered how? Seriously, how on earth did people with no computers, no telescopes, no modern science build massive structures that line up perfectly with the sun and stars? Well, today, we're going to be detectives. We're going to try and unlock the secrets of these ancient skywatchers.
This is the big question, right? It almost seems impossible. I mean, they didn't have GPS, they didn't have advanced calculus, yet somehow they tracked the cosmos with this incredible precision. So what was their secret weapon? It turns out the answer isn't some lost technology. It's about a completely different way of seeing the world, and a sky that, honestly, we can barely even imagine today. All right, so let's get right into it. A lot of what we know comes from some really deep academic research that helps us piece this puzzle together. And just look at this place. This is Newgrange in Ireland. It's technically a combe, but wow, it's so much more. This thing is over 5,000 years old. That's older than Stonehenge, older than the Great Pyramids of Giza, and it was built to capture one single specific moment in time, using nothing but rock, dirt, and sheer human will. This was not a lucky accident. This was a message, written in stone. So how do we even begin to decode a message that's thousands of years old? Well, we need the right tools. We're about to dive into this incredible field that kind of mashes up archaeology, astronomy, and anthropology to figure out how ancient people really saw the heavens. That field is called Archaeoastronomy. And let's be clear, this is not about finding ancient astronauts or some kind of lost super technology. No, it's about getting into the mindset of these cultures and understanding that for them, the sky wasn't just a bunch of pretty lights. It was their clock, their calendar, their GPS, and their most sacred story all rolled into one. And you know, like any cool field of science, there's a big debate right at the center of it. When we find one of these amazing alignments, are we looking at the work of ancient, meticulous scientists who were obsessed with getting the math just right? Or are we looking at something more symbolic, a powerful piece of a cultural story that they painted across the entire landscape? Basically, this debate breaks down into two main camps. On one side, you have what's called green archaeoastronomy. This is mostly for places like Europe, where you don't have a lot of written records. So it leans heavily on statistics to prove these alignments aren't just a fluke. It's asking the question, if these people even practice astronomy. But then you have brown archaeoastronomy. This is used more in the Americas, where they are rich, living cultural traditions. It uses those stories and records to ask a totally different and maybe more interesting question. Why? Why were they doing it? What did it all mean to them? And that why, that's everything. I mean, why would you spend generations of back-breaking labor to build these massive celestial monuments? The answer tells us something really fundamental about who we are as people. It really all comes down to three huge motivations. First and most basic, survival. Knowing when to plant your crops and when to harvest wasn't a hobby. It was the difference between life and death. The sky was the only reliable calendar they had. Second, meaning. We're human. We need to make sense of things. They built these incredible myths and cosmologies to explain their place in the universe. And third, and this is a big one, power. Because if you can predict what the heavens are going to do, it looks an awful lot like you have a direct line to the gods. And this quote right here just nails that connection between the sky and power. Just imagine it for a second. You're an Incan farmer. Every year you gather in this huge plaza and you watch as the emperor himself seems to command the sun to stop its journey and turn back, signaling the start of the planting season. That's not just keeping time, that is divine authority made real right in front of your eyes. And this is such a key point. You see, there were specialists. In parts of Peru, they were called Yanka, and their job was the day-to-day work of tracking the sun. Kind of like the behind-the-scenes data guys. But the huge alignments, the massive public buildings, that was all for show. It was public spectacle designed to reinforce the entire social order and prove without a doubt that the rulers had a special hookup with the cosmos. So let's go on a little tour and look at some of these incredible messages in stone.
From the misty fields of Ireland to the highest, most windswept peaks of the Andes, the evidence is, well, literally monumental. Let's go back to Newgrange, because when you dig into the research, the details are just mind-blowing. What makes this alignment so clearly intentional is this one tiny feature. See, the light doesn't come in through the main doorway. The builders made a special opening right above the entrance called a roof box, designed for one purpose only. For just a few minutes on the shortest day of the year, a single golden beam of light shoots 60 feet down a narrow stone passage and lights up the very back of the inner chamber. It's just a stunning piece of engineering.
Okay, now let's jump across the world to the Andes. The Inca didn't just build in their cities. No, they went to the most extreme, insane environments you can think of. They built these ceremonial shrines on the peaks of the highest mountains because they believed it physically brought them closer to the powerful mountain gods and the sky deities they worshipped. And let me tell you, this was not easy to do.
And this dedication reached its most extreme and, for us, its most disturbing form in rituals like the Kapakasha. This one was performed on the summit of Luyaluyako, which is the highest archaeological site on Earth. Here, they sacrificed 3 children who were chosen for their perfection. The entire platform was built to align with the December solstice sunrise, and their bodies were oriented to the cosmos. So what you have here is this incredible mix of an imperial political statement, a sacred offering to the gods, and pinpoint-accurate astronomy, all happening at the literal top of the world. But it's not just the big empires doing this. Far from it. All over the world, people were watching. In what's now California, different native tribes had their own really sophisticated ways of marking the solstices. They didn't always need to build a whole new structure. Instead, they cleverly used natural features, a certain peak on the horizon, or a natural window in a rock formation. And they combined that with incredible rock art to create these sacred spots where light and shadow would dance together to mark the turning of the seasons. So who was the person in charge of all this? In many of these cultures, you have this incredible figure we can learn about through their own records, the shaman astronomer. This person had a dual role, which is so cool. They were part scientist, carefully observing and predicting what was going to happen in the sky, but they were also the spiritual leader, the one who interpreted what it all meant for the community, making sure the world stayed in balance. So you see all this, and it just makes you stop and think, what's changed? Their world was so deeply and intimately connected to the rhythm of the sky. And ours, well, ours is just a little bit different, isn't it? I saw this comment on Reddit a while back, and it just hit me. It gets to the very heart of the difference between their world and ours. Most of us, we live under this constant blanket of artificial light. We've literally traded a sky filled with billions of stars for the orange glow of our cities. What they saw every single night is something we have to plan a vacation to a national park just to get a glimpse of. And this is the thing you've got to remember. They weren't less intelligent. They didn't have a mysterious technology we lost. They had the exact same brains we do. What they had was a different focus, a focus driven by pure necessity and a deep sense of connection. And they had the greatest observatory you could ever ask for, a perfectly, profoundly dark sky every single night. It was their television, their internet, and their church, all at once. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Their incredible knowledge wasn't really about stars and planets. It was about paying attention to the world around them. In our brightly lit, information-saturated, endlessly distracting world, what important patterns, what vital connections have we just forgotten how to see?